Have you heard of the word adoption? Do you know how common it is? Hi, my name is Marisa Kelly, and I believe adoption is completely normal and awesome. Raise your hand if you know someone who's adopted. Maybe it's yourself. You know, the funny thing is, you should all be raising your hand right now, since Miss Nielsen, Miss Robb, Miss Carlton, and I are all adopted. Adoption is a beautiful thing. It means that although my birth parents couldn't take care of me, someone wanted me. For me to be part of her family means everything. There's absolutely no shame in being adopted. It means someone chose me and someone wanted me. But when my mom told me in 4th grade that I was adopted, it made me feel different from other kids. Everyone feels ashamed about being different sometimes. That's just human nature. I had so many questions, and at the time, the way I asked the question was, what was wrong with me? Even though I was only a baby when I was adopted, I wondered what I had done wrong that my birth parents gave me up. If I'm being honest with you, I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answers. I was afraid of what they might be. But I couldn't stop thinking about them, which made it sometimes hard to focus on school and friendships. I compared myself and my family to other kids a lot. At home, instead of being grateful and comforted that I have a loving mother who cares for me, I was stuck on the fact that my birth parents didn't want me. In 4th grade, a movie called Annie came out. It was a remake of the old Orphan Annie movie. Now, I have to say it was an okay movie, but it quickly turned south for me when almost everyone I knew started calling me Annie. This really hurt me, and I still ache whenever the movie is mentioned. The other kids thought it was a joke, not understanding how much pain I had about my questions and being different. Our teacher at the time, Mr. Orm, had my back and tried to help the kids understand they were being hurtful. The teasing mostly stopped, but not many people said sorry, except for 2 people in particular. Then 5th grade rolled around. I still felt very alone since none of my friends were adopted. But it was not long until I had a new ally, Miss Nielsen. She was there for me and still very much is. I consider her a great support. I will miss her dearly when I go to high school next year. She told me the story of her adoption and reassured me I wasn't alone. My mom kept telling me lots of people were adopted, but hearing it from someone who actually was adopted meant so much more. It was the first moment of my life I truly realized I wasn't alone. Having someone I could relate to was an amazing feeling. Something was lifted off me, that old burden of loneliness and isolation. But it was still hard for me to deal with the questions that haunted me about why my birth parents gave me away. Often I would stay up all night crying, tormented by the fears of what I might think about myself as the cost of having my questions answered. Then in 7th grade, someone else spoke to me, Miss Carlton. Every once in a while, we would take a walk around the block just to talk. She told me her adoption story and inspired me to do something, to reach out to my birth family. I mean, how bad could it be? My mom, the amazing woman who adopted me, was very supportive of me contacting my birth mom and helped me write down all my questions so I wouldn't get so emotional I forgot them. We set up the meeting last summer. You never believe this, but after having a 2-hour phone call with my biological mom, I learned that she was afraid to contact me for the same reasons I was afraid to contact her. We both were feared being rejected. She was afraid that I would hate her for leaving me, and part of me did, but the minute I talked to her, I forgave her. She also reassured me that I hadn't done anything wrong to make her give me up. She did it out of love because she didn't think I would be safe or happy in life with her. I also met my siblings over FaceTime and heard a bit of the family history. 13 and a half years without knowing my family, and I finally met them. My birth mother and I both have the same smile, including the gap in our teeth. When I came back to school this fall, I sat down with Miss Carlton and told her what happened. Then she surprised me with powerful news. She had contacted her birth mom. And what shocked me most was she said that I inspired her to do it. Her mother didn't reply, but she reached out and met a brother she didn't even know she had after all these years. I wanted to burst into tears so badly. I, Marisa, had helped someone else with the same problem that we shared, that very thing that haunted me some nights. Miss Carlton showed me a picture of her and her brother, both smiling, and wow, I must say congratulations, Miss Carlton. I'm so happy for you and your brother. And you look alike, just like me and my biological mother. You know, sharing a family resemblance with someone is just one way you can feel less alone. But something I can't stress enough is that each person's story is going to be different. And for everyone who raised their hand, the adoption stories you will hear will be different too. If you take one thing away from this talk, I hope you know that there's lots of ways to make families. Birth families, adopted families, single parent families, LGBTQ plus families, foster families, divorced families, and so many more. What makes a family is shared love and care for one another. Beyond that, there's no rules. But when a kid's family situation is different from the rest of the class, they will probably feel alone and sensitive about it. Even though there's nothing wrong with their family, from my experience, I encourage you to all be especially aware and kind to those kids. For that matter, you might not know everything about that person's situation because sometimes families prefer to keep things private. So don't assume. Everyone's family has a birth mom and a dad living at home. By not assuming, you won't hurt others. In the scripture that Alex read for us, Paul uses adoption as a way to describe our relationship with God. God chose us because he loves us. So he decided long ago to adopt us. He adopted us as his children with all the rights children have. To me, this passage is about how a parent loves an adopted child so much because they chose that child. Now I know that I am loved twice, by the birth mother who gave me up out of love for me and my adoptive mom who chose me and has always been there for me. I used to think being adopted was shameful, but now I realize I'm lucky to be loved so much. Thank you.